without a doubt here. So again, please hit the like button. And Phil, you ready? See if we can get our friend up here now, Phil Sims.
Can you hear me?
I got you, Phil.
Okay, I'm on the phone, which is really difficult. I couldn't get it on my computer, but it's okay.
Phil, I want to throw some roses at you here.
Sure, go ahead. I'll take them.
22 years of really great stuff in the booth, at the desk, all of that. It kept a passion for you of football. And this is why I do this, because it keeps me close to the game that we grew up in. Just your reflection on your 22 years at CBS and what it meant to you.
Yeah, I think I was there 26 years just to, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I can always do it in my head. My last year was 93, ESPN 94, 95, 96, 97 at NBC. They lost football. So I've been at CBS since then. I think it's 26 by my count. I was really good at math, but it's that I would say that's fading away too. But look, yeah, great run. I would have never thought when I got into the business. I think when I was playing always in my life, I said, I'm going to play football as long as possible. And when it's over, I was going to go into coaching. But my career ended there's no probablys. I didn't think it was ending. And I found out one off season, well, we're going to let you go. And I was like, wow. And I was really caught off guard by it. And TV just opened up. ESPN asked me to come up and do an audition. I said, sure, we're going to talk football. I can do that. And that's kind of where it started. So it's been good, but I'm not done. I'm going to got a podcast with my son, Matt, Sims Complete. I'm going to be doing a lot of things. I'm very excited about it. And no hard feelings at CBS, that's for sure. And, I just say this too. And I wasn't shocked at all. And in fact, I think I'd have been really surprised if Boomer and I were going to get a chance to come back and have another year or 2 years or whatever. And, because I have so many more insults that I want to give the Boomer. I needed a few more years.
Hey, Phil, do you think it had a lot to do with McManus stepping down?
Well, I don't know. It probably didn't help. So everybody wants their own team and draft their own guys and all that. So, again, like I said, I understand that. And when did it happen? I guess it was Monday. It seems like it was a month ago now, because I've done a lot of interviews and everything like that. So I'm listen, I'm excited about a lot of stuff, and I love NFL football. I like football. People has always asked me, Dan, when your kids are there with you, y'all have a dinner, what do y'all talk about? And I said, what do you think we talk about? We dissect everything. I mean, it is truly, man, we could make a great podcast out of that. We argue a little. We usually have some different opinions, especially on quarterbacks and coaches. And so, like I said, I love the game, and I studied it hard. I don't even correct people anymore. I did. I worked as hard as I could because I felt I always owed that obligation to the players and the coaches to try to tell the truth. And I love correcting narratives, which I knew were wrong by people sometimes who just throw out an opinion. Well, it's my opinion. Well, opinions are not good enough sometimes. Deal with some facts too. So I've enjoyed that part of it for sure too.
How about this, Phil? Do you think the ending of your NFL career is going to propel you and help you for how this sudden ending had to help you get into the next level and your next opportunity?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've always.
Because, Phil, I hated when you retired. I mean, I thought the Hostetler thing was a mess at the end. Yeah. I hated it. As a Giant fan, I couldn't stand it. And I hated how you left the game. I hated it so bad. I mean, everybody in New York, for a guy who we booed when you first got there and we killed, because this guy from where? Moorhead's, what? Are you crazy? And then for all of us screaming at the end going, you can't let that guy walk out the building like that. I mean,
I didn't walk out. They kicked me out.
I know.
Okay? I would have, listen, I'm not that guy. I would have never retired. And, now it's been so long and many years, and I've thought about it. I said, well, maybe I got lucky that the salary cap came around, and that was the reason. Just for the fact that I was going to, at least I was thinking I could play 2 more years easy. And, that would have been just more hits on the body. And who knows, it could have just, made life even more miserable for me. I have a few bumps and bruises to this day from NFL football, but nothing I can't live with, because my life, my memories, my kid, everything, it's been great. Hey, my wife, I was making fun of her earlier today. She loves football, and we'll be lying in bed this past year. The next morning I got to get up and 5 o'clock and get ready to go to CBS, and there'd be a game on. And I said, we got to turn the TV off. I need some sleep. Oh, well, no, we got to wait till the game's over. I'm like, what happened to you? I mean, it could be 2 nondescript college football teams. Well, I just want to see who wins and, whatever. So,
Mrs. Sims, I got to say this, between a kid who got a ruptured spleen and a quarterback who gassed and almost took apart, I mean, I know why she has to love football.
Yeah, that's good. That's right. Yeah. So hey, if you don't like football, we're not the family to be around. That's for sure. So it's like I said, look, you're doing it too. You played, now you're talking about it, and it's just great. And I think the other thing is there's just such interest in the NFL, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And so, I want to be part of it. That's all I know.
How about this, Phil? Let's get into a little conversation here. I mean, why is it so hard, Phil? And I want to throw some stats at you here. Why is it so hard to evaluate this QB position? Look at this 2021 draft. Looks like they're working on a deal with Trevor. Zach Wilson doesn't get the 5th-year option picked up by the Broncos. Trey Lance doesn't get the 5th-year option picked up by the Cowboys. Mac Jones doesn't get the 5th-year option picked up by the Jags. And the last 3 guys are on 2 different teams in the last 2 years, going into their 3rd year. I mean, Phil, that could be one of the worst quarterback classes of all time. But why is that so hard to get that position right?
Well, listen, it's no concrete thing about it. In other words, there's just so much to it. Who you are as a person, your talent, and then, and I'm not even picking up for quarterbacks, but I just know this. It's about the team, the system, the players around you. It's so many other variables involved in there. And a lot of times it's not about talent. It's just about so many other variables that are hard to negotiate. And, I do it all the time. I go, hey, this quarterback is really playing well. But, the team is 4-9. And I said, I understand the circumstances. So that's why I say he's playing really well. And I've watched his games and I know. So, yeah, it's hard to evaluate, but I think it's hard just for about almost every position in football. But what other position is out there relying on everything else? They're not. The left tackle, if he plays well, it doesn't matter if the team wins 1 game. Man, we love our left tackle, and he's going to be here. And our quarterback, well, he should have overcome all the bad players around him. And I don't know. So it's just so much to it. Dan, I don't know what else to say except when you're drafted in this league, the guys you just talked about, Mac Jones could have been a star. And if he went to the right team, but he didn't get that opportunity. He went to New England. Mac Jones's arm and who he is, it's just not built like the way you need to be to play up in New England. If he'd have got drafted by the 49ers, who I thought were going to take him, I believe he'd have gone some Super Bowls. I really do. Because he fits that system to a T. And, Zach Wilson, he just never put it together enough with the team. But the talent's there. So it's hard to judge all the other stuff about what makes you successful in the NFL. For me, I'll never forget. I guess it was my 5th year. I was hurt. I broke my thumb, or I don't know what you want to call it, tore my thumb off, basically. And a writer came to the hospital to see me. And he says, well, have you thought about maybe doing something else? I said, what are you kidding? I dream. It was my focus for my it feels like my whole life. Hell no, I'm not going. I'm going to leave when they kick me out. Well, you know what? They finally kicked me out. So
Well, Phil, to that point, let me ask you something about Jalen Hurts here. Tell me if my fundamental thinking on this is wrong and where I look at last year, A.J. Brown career year, Devontae Smith career year. They both got giant contracts. Left tackle, giant contract, Mulata. The highest paid guard now in Landon Dickerson. They go get a $10 million running back. Phil, why did everybody have career years and yet Jalen Hurts was second in turnovers? He can't throw for 4,000 yards, and they had a 1-6 run at the end of the year. How can everybody be on a career path? The coordinator got everybody paid, but they fired him, and the quarterback didn't do well. I mean, how do you explain that? I mean, everyone played well but him.
Yeah, well, listen, it was almost hard to say that because if you said it, oh, you're just a hater. I go, no, I'm watching the games. He's not playing well. And there's so many games where it was there for him, especially at the end, to get the job done, and it wasn't. And, I'll just go back to the Tampa game. I remember watching the show when the game was over. Nobody talked about Jalen Hurts. They were talking about everything else. And I go, hell, if you're the Eagles, there's many things about this. But would you think Tampa wasn't going to blitz? I mean, my God. And Tampa's probably sitting there in the game blitzing going, we can't believe they're not changing anything. Let's just keep blitzing. And so I don't know. I think the coaching definitely had something to do with him not playing as well. I don't think the roles on the offense were as defined as they had been the year before. And the change of coordinator, I thought that was a pretty big deal for him. So, but once again, and I said it last year many times on CBS, I would go, they were losing these games, and then I go, it's still, to me, one of the best rosters in the NFL. It's just no way you can hardly have the end of the season with all the talent they had. But there were many reasons. I don't know them all. I know there was a little unrest in the locker room and stuff like that, but they had to make some changes. They did. And once again, it looks like they're loaded, and they're going to be one of the teams you got to look out for.
What's your overall in 3 years takeaway so far with Jalen Hurts' career? They've been 3 different years, Phil. I mean, obviously the first year you're hoping to get your feet wet. You're hoping to get acclimated to the game and the speed of the game. The second year he was second in the MVP. Last year he dropped back, and like you said, he was third in being blitzed. He didn't handle it very well. He had an 8 quarterback rating across the middle of the field. He was thrown to the numbers, which became predictable. I mean, all of that played in. And help me out here. What's your takeaway with Jalen Hurts as a talent?
Well, listen, as I watched all those games, I thought they were extremely predictable on the offensive side. And, there just wasn't the same rhythm and what's the word for it? Thought process with the offensive coordinator. And so that hurt a lot. And, quarterbacks, look, and, I don't know him. He's always calm, and you see this presence that he has on the field. But, you can get rattled too. And you do need – sometimes you need the coaches to help you get out of, the fact that you're not playing as well as you should. So I thought a lot had to do with the play call and play design of the offensive coordinator. And two, I know I never really could figure out what is wrong with him physically. It looked like he was running well. It didn't look like it was bothering his arm. And I didn't think he had a very good year physically throwing the football, especially at the end. And, they pulled some games out of their hat and probably didn't deserve to win. They got them up to 10-1. But then we started seeing what we saw bits and pieces of. And then we just started seeing a lot of it in every single game. But, physically, when you got a quarterback that's physically just throwing the ball really well, they believe what they see. They can throw it in there, and it works. And I never got that feeling from him last year in the past game.
Why do I look at Josh Allen, and I get hammered for this all the time. I look at him and I go, man, if I'm going to build a quarterback, that's the guy I want right there. I mean, Phil, you talk about the people talk about and they land on the turnovers. Well, he's won 4 straight AFC East titles, and he's got a 69% win percentage. We're not talking about a guy here that is losing ball games. And yet, it's like Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, Phil. You run into Tiger or you run into Brady, you're in the Brady and Tiger era. you're running into Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or whomever. I mean, getting out of the East and getting out of the AFC is going to be quite a task trying to get past that guy in Kansas City. I mean, am I right when I go, Mahomes is the second best talent, maybe the best talented guy in the league at that position?
Yeah, listen, when people say get on this turnover thing with Josh Allen, I understand that to a degree, but I really, nothing bothers me. That's why I love the business and being in it. That, oh, well, so-and-so had 2 turnovers. Well, they won the damn game and he threw 4 touchdowns. Is that not good enough? And the Josh Allen hate, it's real. And it was last year. And even after they played and got to the playoffs, which he was tremendous down the – and yeah, when you play that way, okay, he did have some that bothered me a little bit. But not where I'm going to go out there and go, oh, Josh Allen's just – people say he's really good. He's not. Come on. That is idiocy. That is so stupid. And the Kansas City game, what was on TV the next day when they played that playoff game? Well, he should have hit this one pass. And, now we're going to boil his whole performance down because they missed a field goal. Well, they could have gotten closer. And, man, was I on the warpath after that with a lot of people. And he wasn't good in the Kansas City playoff game. He was absolutely great. No bits and ifs and buts. He was great. So be a man and say that you were wrong and tell the damn truth. And then finally, it took a little while that people, oh, yeah, he is pretty good. No kidding. Oh, my God. The running. Go ask all the players that play against him and the coaches, see what they think. Hell, you know what they were doing during the week? All right, now, this guy's different. Holy Christ. He can. How about when he runs against Kansas City and then there's about 4 guys that have an angle on him, steps on the gas, goes in the end zone. There's 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in the NFL could even do something like that. So I get tired of the Josh Allen stuff. Hopefully it dies. But, now, they're all happy again, all the haters. Oh, they lost a lot of players. Oh, Buffalo's going to fall.
Phil, I think he's going to be better.
Well,
you know why? Because he's going to have to spread the ball around like Mahomes does in Kansas City. And I think you're not going to be reliant on – Phil, I want to show you this. Listen to this. Look at these big money wideouts. Devontae Adams, he won a Super Bowl? No. Has A.J. Brown? No. Has Tyreek didn't have that money then? They moved him when he wanted it. He ain't winning one in Miami. So all these big money guys, Jefferson's not winning one in Minnesota anytime soon. Every single one of these big money, $25 million wideouts are not winning if you are reliant on the guy on the corner and on the guy on the numbers and not the quarterback in the pocket. You're not winning, Phil. I don't care what wide receivers you have, what dream team you have. If that quarterback isn't the best guy in your huddle, you're not winning.
Yeah, look, the quarterback, there's so many other things too, and it's how you present yourself to the team. What do you do in practice? How are you in the meetings? Those things, look, and I say it, and I had a great teacher for 8 years in Bill Parcells. I mean, I learned everything about football, the managing the game, practice and all this. And he would get mad at me sometimes. Hey, Sims, you're not their buddy. You're their quarterback. You lead them. I don't want you quit being so nice to your offensive. How's that working out? I was having a rough period. I was really getting hit a lot. And he goes, Sims, it's your fault. I'm like, of course it is, Bill. He goes, you're take him out to dinner some more. How's that working out for you? I mean, he was endless. But my point being this, when you're quarterback in the league, you really have to have a personality and you got to be able to help players reach who they are or whatever, and set a standard that they have to follow. I think that's something that's really lost. You can do all the interviews you want before you draft them, but you really never know until they get there, start practicing. And if things get rough, what happens then to the quarterback? So that's what I've learned through my whole life. Even my high school coach, college coach, and in the pros, most of them will say, hey, you got to take charge of this because you got more power maybe than we do as coaches. And I kind of understood that. I tried to do it. It's not always easy as it sounds, though.
What were your takeaways with the draft this past weekend?
Well, I thought all 6 quarterbacks that went in the first round, I think they deserved to go in the first round. I thought they were all first-round quarterbacks.
McCarthy too, right?
What's that?
McCarthy too, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, there was not a lot to really grab onto as far as what they did. He didn't get all the throws that these other quarterbacks did, where you could see everything, the situations. But let me just say this: the one thing I said about him, and you got to pay attention to or realize, when you play on a team that doesn't throw a lot, it's hard. Everybody goes, "Oh, he didn't have to throw much." Let me tell you, that's hard. It's hard to get in rhythm, because when I always use it. When Dan Marino missed a pass, he didn't care, because he knew the next 10 plays they're going to throw it. So he's going to be in rhythm the whole time. When you're asked to pick up third downs and not get those throws before third down, sometimes it's hard to make it work. But JJ did a really good job of that. He can run. The other thing that, one of the things I talked about that he's going to have to learn, he only had one speed, and that's throw the damn thing as hard as you can. And he was accurate with the football too, throwing it like he did. But the NFL, that's what I call a thrower, but you got to be a passer too. So you got to have touch, learn to throw the ball over people, under people, this and that. And the routine plays, you got to be a damn machine hitting the routine plays. And so, yeah, JJ, when he came out, I'm sorry. I said, why is he coming out? I mean, come on, he's going to be drafted in the 3rd or 4th round.
That's what I thought.
Well, but once I started studying him, I went, okay, I see it. I understand. And, of course, I don't get to see these interviews and everything else, but apparently he has all the little qualities, or at least you think he does, that I just talked about, that are going to help him when he goes to the NFL.
You know what, Phil? I wonder how hard that is for a guy like you, because if I'm not mistaken, there was one game in your career where you threw for almost 600 yards, but you had to stay. It's kind of reminds me a little bit of Josh Allen going to Joe Brady up there after going from Ken Dorsey, where you have to really buy into, and it must have been so hard for you seeing your contemporaries like Marino and Montana and some of these other guys throwing the ball all over the yard, and you're going hand off to O.J. Anderson, going to Dave Meggett, handing it here, playing tough defense. How hard is that for a guy who wants to throw the ball down the field? And Phil, I always believed you could, because you showed you could, but you had to stay inside the reservation to kind of not go away from the game plan and play championship football. Am I right when I say that? How hard is that?
You're close. For many years of my career, it was about big plays, throwing the ball. And we were very aggressive. And, just like a good example, we would play the Washington Redskins at Giant Stadium. We did this in '86. I'll never forget this. We ran the ball all over them and won the game. So we go down there and play them at RFK. And the game plan was, we're going to throw it and we're going to rip it down the field at every play if we can get a chance and whatever. Because Bill Parcells was great that way. They're going to stop the run. So we're going to have to really throw the ball, and we're going to be aggressive and play calling. And Sims, he'd go, listen, I don't care if you throw a couple interceptions, just let it go. And I go, listen, don't worry, I can do that. I'll let it go. But we had years where we had big yards of throwing. In fact, in 85 and 86, 84 and 85, I saw this article in the paper and I read it. It didn't make me mad, but it did a little bit. And the two biggest or most yards passing in those 2 years, Dan Marino was 1, and I was right behind him at number 2. And that really hurt this writer to write. I can't believe it. So, that first Super Bowl, we were an aggressive, throwing the ball, but whatever. We had a lot of injuries that year, so it kind of hurt us for a while. But when everybody got back, we threw the ball, and we were very successful doing it. And then, of course, in '90, the team changed. Everything is different. And right from training camp, it was about, hey, we're just going to mush people. And I got it. I got a lot of experience in me then by that time, and I know how to manage the game and know what's going on. And, listen, I probably told you a story. And so in 1990, we're playing Dan Marino in New York, 3rd game of the year, I think it was. And Bill Parcells go, hey, Sims, we're going to work this clock. And I said, yeah. So we had an opening drive. I think we go down and kick a field goal or score a touchdown. It took us forever. First quarter was almost over. Dan comes in. They go 3 and out. And I'm getting, there's a timeout. So now it's over. I'm going to walk back on the field. And Parcells goes, Sims, I knew what he was going to say, I swear. And I said, yes. He goes, he gets his finger, puts it near his watch, kill the clock. So we were standing in a huddle in the first quarter, milking the clock. And it was probably one of the ugliest games in history. I think we won like 20-3 or whatever. TV must have hated it because I was snapping the ball every time with 1 second to go. And hey, but that was Bill. And it just, like I said, the team had changed. And I could, a veteran quarterback can usually make it without a lot of throws. If you're young and trying to establish yourself, that's a really, really tough way to play.
You know what, Phil? It's funny you say that because a couple months ago I had Keith Byers on and I asked him what he thought about this Eagle team last year. And he goes, well, they weren't playing championship football probably from Thanksgiving on. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, you can't throw to 2 guys. He goes, what happens is you got to spread the ball around. And with all these new players that they got on the team, like Saquon Barkley,
right.
Now you add, some other players, a little nuanced players that you're going to have in the offense. In your opinion, playing championship football is exactly that. And now I ask, what does Barkley bring? Now, Phil, I gotta throw this at you first before we do this. He's a second pick in the draft. The Giant teams were not loaded with talent. The offensive line, Dave Gettleman could not find an O-lineman in his entire tenure there as the general manager, and the Eagles have like 6 of them.
Oh, my God.
So, so I get it, but still, Phil, give me your assessment on Saquon Barkley's impact that you think he has on the Eagles.
I think he's going to have a big impact. I do. I was watching some of his plays probably about a month ago after all this went down, and I watched it. I just got, the great thing about technology now. Oh, my God, I love it. I just write in Saquon Barkley, and I just watch his runs. And, he still has enough in the tank to get it done. And, of course, there he is with that offensive line down there in Philadelphia. And now Kellen Moore, I got to see it to believe it. If he can design the run game and win games and just be, sometimes you just got to be the biggest, baddest people on the field. Philadelphia should be able to do that. And with the quarterback, the receivers, the O-line, and here's another thing that bothers me. Mekhi Becton, they signed him. I'm going to tell you, you watch. With that O-line coach at Stoutland, I forgot his first name.
Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to turn Mekhi Becton into a damn all-pro. And Mekhi Becton stayed healthy for whatever last year, the Jets. It was solid. He's coming. I saw him, recently. Oh, my gosh. He is have you ever been around him?
Listen, Phil, I said this. I go, he could have picked anywhere to go. But he wanted to go. There's 2 guys, Callahan now in Tennessee, who used to be at Cleveland,
yes,
and Jeff Stoutland, who I think is also one of the top 2 O-line coaches
I agree.
in the NFL. And he could have picked anybody, but he went to him because he's going to be the swing tackle. And boy, I'll tell you what, man, if that guy can stay healthy and get the coaching that he needs and the quarterback play, and now you have Barkley, I got to tell you, man, that guy may be one of the best free agent signings that you have in the offseason here, because if that guy can get his together, Phil, that's another big body they got to worry about in Philly.
Dan, trust me. I really mean this. He's got it together. I see him at this facility. He's not far from my house. I've seen him in there training. He has turned a corner. He did last year. He trained like an animal the whole offseason, everything. And Stoutland's going to help. I can just see it coming. I mean, come on, it's a perfect marriage. Now, even at tackle and everything, you got to be lucky not to get hurt.
Right.
Offensive linemen, everybody's falling everywhere. And I would say almost every single injury that happens to an offensive lineman is the same. Somebody falls into them. And, but yeah, that one, I just went, oh my God, the Eagles, it's amazing. They're picking players. They did a great job there, but getting him and Barkley, boy, I would say Jalen Hurts has got to be sitting in there just laughing, going, man, we are doing a great job for
Do
me.
you think, Phil, do you think that Howie Roseman is the best cap management guy and contract guy that's in the NFL? Because when I look at the deals they do, look at the cap hits. They're so low because the owner gives them the bag of money up front, Phil.
Yeah.
So those cap hits are low. Instead of having the back end like Dallas, where you got to start dumping players because that money starts hitting the cap. They do it the reverse. They give you the bag of money up front. Then they got those minuscule cap hits. And what they're able to do is renegotiate after 2 or 3 years. I mean, this guy does. I don't know what he is really too much when it comes to his defensive personnel, but I'll tell you, man, when it comes to contracts and cap management, I don't think there's a better team in the NFL than the Eagles.
Yeah, I'd have to look at all of it, but I would. My first inclination is, yeah, he's the best. I mean, man, he's just putting everybody. It's like trying to chase, when I was playing, trying to be John Elway or Dan Marino. That's pretty hard to do. And it's pretty hard to be Howie Roseman, what he's doing, the moves he's making. And it's awesome to see. And another good draft by him. Gosh, dang. I think they got probably the best corner in the draft, in my opinion. I know he went to Toledo, but I watched him. I was really impressed. And
Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell from Toledo.
What do you make of Cooper DeJean? I mean, Bill, when you talk to certain people, I talked to Dan Morgan and Alonzo up in New England as well, right, and Tom Telesco. There's different opinions on him where they're looking at him and saying they think he's going to be more of a slot safety or like a slot corner or a safety in that position but again, 4-4-5, he's a guy like to play. He plays in zone. That's Vic Fangio's defense, is a zone defense. Both guys are zone defensive backs. So they drafted what they wanted to plug in to try to be an impact immediately so it won't be foreign to him. So what's your takeaway on DeJean?
I liked him. I studied him pretty hard too. And I definitely can be a slot corner. There's no doubt about that. He can be a safety too. Hey, look, some people just know how to play sports. And he's just guys, they just got it. I always say
he scored 28 points in basketball too. He was some freak of nature athlete.
Well, I saw a video of him. I think it was when he was in high school. I think he jumped and did a 360 dunk like it was nothing. So that kind of told me he's got some talent, or he's got some ups and he's got some speed. But yeah, I think he's got a chance to be an outside corner too. I don't know if I would just say he's not going to be an outside corner. He could be. So, and the Eagles, their team, it's big, it's physical. They got pass rushers still. So, that always helps corners to find their way in the NFL.
But help me out here on Bryce Huff. Who is he? The Eagles signed him to free agency. In your opinion, Bryce Huff, what is Bryce Huff?
Oh, I think you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna, wow, the Eagles did it again. I didn't like him. I loved him. I went to training camp with the last year. I was there 2 days just to kind of hang out and just watch. And all those great I said, God, they got 10 guys that can make the team at defensive line. And I remember just going, watching. I go, damn, Bryce Huff might be the best one of all of them. And that's saying something. But he flashed just so much in practice, and I love just kind of hanging around. And they walk by me, I go, hot damn, that guy's big, But yeah, I think he was a great pickup for the Eagles. I really do. Kind of like for the Giants. I did the same with Brian Burns, and I think the Giants I love the move.
Man, I love him.
Yeah.
And they only gave a 2 and a 5 up for him, Phil. I mean, last year the Rams were ready to give up 2 1s for him. Can you imagine this, Phil? Carolina gives away McCaffrey, didn't get a first. They give away Brian Burns and didn't get a first. I mean, I got to tell you, man, Brian Burns, in my opinion, there were 2 teams that wanted to give 2 1s away, one year, the following year. The Rams were talking about giving 2 in 1 year away.
Hey, look, I do. I'm pretty good this way. I try to find the things that I can say they're not good about people or players, just to try to even it out. Because sometimes I get a lot of stuff on, X and even Instagram. Everything is not great about all these guys. And I go, okay, I'll take care of that guy. It's kind of in my head a little bit. So I always picked out little things these draft guys had. But so I watched him. He hustled, unbelievable, chased down plays, physical. And, as I watched it, I go, whatever stats that are being acquired by other guys on the front of the Carolina Panthers, it seemed like most of it was becoming because of him. You know, he just made the quarterback move. He ran into trouble. Well, you know, he's the old, you know, mess it up and other people get the sacks or get the tackles or whatever. And maybe his numbers were not great. I think numbers are, it's too easy of a way to look at pass rushers now. You know, guys that F up the play are that's just as big, maybe bigger than getting the sack. So he's that guy. I'm excited for the Giants. I think the move was great. And Thibodeau, I think he came around last year. So we got the Giants got two bookends that they got speed and talent. And this is going to be interesting if it really, how much it affects the team.
How much does Neighbors help Daniel Jones, in your opinion?
Well, it's going to help a lot. I mean, boy, you know.
Are you still a fan, Phil?
Oh, sure. Am I a fan? What do you mean a fan?
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, listen. Yes, I am. I want to see it. And of course, this is going to be it. Either it's gonna be yes or it's going to be no, and it's going to be clear cut. So I hope he's doing well in his rehab. I had somebody from the Giants tell me it's really going well, which, you know, we never hear anything's going bad in these rehabs, but I believe that. And if this doesn't make Daniel Jones, this predicament he's in right now, if this doesn't make him tougher and just more of everything that you talk about, you want from your quarterback, then it's not meant to be. And I tell all these young quarterbacks, you know, sometimes they're in places, there'll be 3, 4 really young guys. And I tell them the same story a lot. And they'll say this. And I said, you know, and I try to clean it up. I don't want to say just demanding quarterbacks in the history of the league that I've ever been around. I mean, they were so demanding that you just go, wow, calm down just a little. Just, you know, I'm being careful with my words here. But who do you think it is, those two, that were just demanding and just wear you out? And if you weren't on board, they're going to kick your butt out.
Sonny Jurgensen.
No. It's a little more modern day than that.
Okay. Oh, Brady and probably Mahomes.
Yeah, no, Mahomes does it with love.
Oh, okay.
Tom Brady and this big guy,
Roethlisberger,
who's on TV all the time with 9 million commercials.
Peyton Manning.
Oh my God, Peyton was an animal. And you know,
Reggie Wayne used to tell me that he used to do this. Reggie's a Cane, and so I go, what was it like playing with him? He goes, dude, listen, we had a 3-hour game before a 3-hour game. He goes, damn, my entire time I thought I was still at UM in college going to train table, and we were out there for 3 hours prior running the entire game plan.
Oh.
Prior to going into the game versus, say, the Patriots or the Ravens or what have you. He goes, he would practice for, finally the coaches had to come in there and go, hey, man, I mean, 3-hour practices before. And even Ed Reed would go, hey, you know what made him so? The more studying you did on him,
yeah,
that's how you beat him. You didn't beat him on Sundays. Ed Reed used to say this, Phil, you beat him on Wednesday and Thursday. Practice and in the film room was the only way to beat Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I think it's all true. It really is. I mean, they had names for him, and it was all true. You know, listen, I went to practice. I'll never forget this one day in Indianapolis, and we go out there, and no coach basically said a word the whole practice. Peyton did all the talking. He had the sheet, you know, the script in his waistband. All right, I need 3 wide receivers. Oh, and he called the play, and then play be over. All right, I need this, need that. You know, they come running in, running out, and he'd call the play. They run it, and you know, practice was immaculate. It really was. It was so organized, so tough and fast, and you know, it was like you just said it. It was like playing a game, and so you know, I was part of that little. I guess you'd say with the coach. I mean, I didn't do it, but Bill Parcells, every practice was the most damn important moment of our lives every day.
Absolutely. Couple last questions here for you, Phil. Let me ask you this. Does Dak Prescott have to leave Dallas to win a Super Bowl?
Does he have to leave?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I think I'm not going to just say that's crazy. Just because, the fact of who they're going to lose and lost and everything that's going on, it's going to be hard for them, I think, to get a team that just scares everybody and gives them a chance to go and be a big time player in the playoffs.
Don't you think that front office, Phil, gets in the way of his success?
Well, they're doing a great job. They've done a good job, I think, over many years of drafting. But no, I'll give you this. The last 3 playoff games they've lost, Dak, it's not easy for me to say this because I know he's a really good dude. I like him. I think last year was his best year of throwing the football in the NFL. But, the last 3 playoff losses, he's played really bad in all 3 of them. And, it's terrible. I always say that. You can have a great year. You can be the MVP. But if the playoff game doesn't go your way, the whole year is like worthless. You don't have to win all the playoff games, but you can't be the reason why they're losing. And just like last year, those 2 interceptions early in the game against Green Bay, that was the whole game. Now we're chasing the whole time. And the defense was chasing. And look what happened. Green Bay had all these routes. Oh, my God, the game plan was absolutely great by Green Bay. It was great. And they took advantage of everything, the overplaying, the too aggressive on the defensive side. The Green Bay offense was destroying it. And, of course, the interceptions by Dak were game changers big time.
Last question for you, Phil, maybe the toughest one. If you had to start your team with everything being equal, would you take Brady or Mahomes?
Oh, wow. That's it. I would take Mahomes right now just because it would be just for this. We have more than just the guy moving in the pocket and throwing it. We got the guy that can move in the pocket, but move outside the pocket and overcome the fact that we are not doing what we hope to do or to do against the team you're playing. Patrick Mahomes, the last 5 games of the year, that was the most disciplined I've ever seen him play in a stretch ever in his career. And he just turned into he executed every single play the way it was drawn up. He quit trying to be Magic Man. But of course, that Magic Man's always going to come out because they're going to force him sooner or later out of the pocket, and he still does his job. But he changed there at the end of the year. And you remember the game that did it. It was the Raider game.
Yeah.
Or was it the Raider? The Bengals?
No, it was the Eagle game.
What's it? No. It was late in the year when they got just embarrassed by the Raiders.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Was that at Arrowhead?
Yeah, it was at Arrowhead.
Arrowhead.
Yeah, and then that's kind of started the trend where I was like, oh my gosh, look what they're doing. They really kind of got back to a much simpler offense and just tried to do the right thing. And of course, the Magic Man for them is Travis Kelce. Going back to what I said earlier, Travis Kelce, really one of the greatest I've ever seen of just playing the sport. I mean, he's got an unbelievable athletic feel of what's right and wrong in games and situations. And then when it comes down to it, hey, he dated Taylor Swift, but never doubt Travis Kelce is one tough, competitive dude and great for a football team. And I'm glad he's going to play 2 more years too.
Me too, man. And what an absolutely great thing to watch there too. I agree with you on Mahomes. I think Mahomes, when you look at Jimmy, I asked Jimmy Johnson that question. I go, Coach, if you had to start your team with between Brady or Mahomes, he goes, Dan, Mahomes is the greatest quarterback, talent-wise and field manager. And he got better when Tyreek Hill wasn't on the team because it made him have to see the field more. And like you said, Phil, what people are saying is that it made him have to be more disciplined and patient.
Yeah.
Without Tyreek Hill. And that, if you look at it, the last 2 years, his numbers dictate that.
Yeah, he really became patient, and he just, I'll never forget, we were doing the championship game down in Baltimore last year, and I turned to everybody about late first quarter. I said, look what they're doing at Kansas City. They're managing this game to a T. And it was the best game management I think I ever saw. Andy Reid and I thought it was the best I've ever seen. They were on top of it, and they never got away from the script. They knew what they were trying to accomplish. And, Baltimore, I'm not saying Baltimore thought it anything except Baltimore was going to try to be the bully. And what I really liked about it is right from the start, the Kansas City Chiefs were willing to fight, and they just fought longer. That game was out of control physical. And, I'm down the sideline watching some of it, and then I go and have to watch on TV. Then I came home the next morning. I got up, my wife said, I went, oh my gosh, this game, everybody, it was wicked. And, the guy, I hate to get on all this, Patrick Queen. Oh my gosh. He wanted to, be careful when I say this. He was trying to kill people.
Oh, I know he was, man.
And he was fantastic.
Well, 18 million reasons why Pittsburgh signed him.
It's with him in Pittsburgh and the kid they drafted from North Carolina State.
Yep.
Wow.
Listen. Yeah, that's going to be great. Phil, I got to roll. Thank you so much for finding time. By the way, tell folks where they can get you on your new podcast.
Sims Complete. It's the podcast, and we just did one yesterday where I did the quarterbacks that got drafted. We made some film, and I showed the good and bad, and we went into detail. I was really happy with it. And my son Matt is great at this. He's got a good sense of humor. He picks on his father a little too much, but that's okay. So it's all good. I wish I could do a podcast with both my sons, because people always ask me, hey, what do you guys do when you're all together in dinner? And I said, what the hell do you think we do? We talk football.
They talk checkers.
What'd you say?
I said they talk checkers.
Yeah.
What do you think the Sims do? Okay, these guys are talking football. Phil, thank you, my friend.
You're the man. Thank you.
Great Phil Sims. God love catching up with my friend. He's absolutely spectacular. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.